Sorry. I can't ever get it right. It's seated. Okay. I think so. I think so. Good evening, everybody. Um, This is the regular scheduled city council meeting, Kennedale City Council, January 21st, 2025. Sorry, it took me a minute to get that at 5:30 PM. We are at City Council Chambers, 405 Municipal Drive, Kennedale, Texas, 76060. Madam Secretary, can I get a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mayor Pro Tem Michaels,
Here.
Place 1 Glover,
Here.
Place 2 Kobeck,
Here.
Place 4 Gary,
Here.
Place 4 Navarez.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. At this time, we're going to have our invocation and pledges of allegiance to the U.S. and Texas flags. I'm going to ask Councilman Navarez to lead us in our invocation and Councilman Michaels to lead us in our pledges. All right, thank you, gentlemen. And at this time, we've got a presentation, a proclamation here. And this is designating February as Black History Month in the city of Kennedale as presented. And so here is our proclamation. Whereas Black History Month is an annual celebration of the history, culture, and achievements of African Americans. Whereas the observance of Black History Month provides an opportunity to honor the vital contributions African Americans have made to the development and progress of the United States, including in the fields of civil rights, education, politics, art, science, business, and beyond. Whereas the City of Kennedale recognizes the importance of acknowledging the history and contributions of African Americans, as well as the ongoing pursuit of racial equality, justice, and empowerment. Whereas during this month, we celebrate the strength, the resilience, and dedication of African Americans in our community, our state, and our nation. Whereas we encourage all residents of Kennedale to learn more about the achievements and struggles of African Americans and to engage in activities that promote unity, respect, and understanding. Now, therefore, I, Brad Horton, as mayor of the city of Kennedale, on behalf of the Kennedale City Council, city staff, and the great citizens, do hereby proclaim the month of 2025 as Black History Month. And do we have a plaque or anything? Are we just making the announcement? Ah, okay. And do we need to, anybody want to? right, thank you very much. At this time, we are going to move to public comment, and the Kennedale City Council welcomes comments from the public. Those wishing to speak must sign in prior to the start of the meeting, or we'll accept you up to now. Speakers may speak on any topic, whether or not on the agenda. The Kennedale City Council cannot act upon, discuss issues raised, or make any decisions at this time. Speakers under citizens' comments shall observe a 3-minute time limit. You'll have the clock up here. And inquiries regarding matters not listed on this agenda may be referred to staff for research and/or possible future action by the board. Madam Secretary, do we have speakers?
Yes, sir, we do. Sarah Johnson.
Sarah Johnson, also the Director of New Senior Outreach. I live on 221 Village Street in Kennedale. I want to, on the items of renaming the roundabouts, I've been thinking about that, and I know y'all want to honor Mr. Mundy, but I think there's something better that y'all could do. Maybe do a statue in Town Center Park or something like that, since you say he's contributed a lot to Kennedale and things. I think that would be more appropriate than naming the roundabout. Since this is Black History Month, I think you should think about renaming the roundabout after Sandra Lee, the first Black council lady who's very involved in this community and has also contributed to here. I would like to see the Kennedale Historical Society have more a say in the roundabouts, what they get named, because we have some, just not Mr. Mundy has contributed a lot to this town. Mr. Love did, Mr. Love's family has. My dad was a big part of this town, even though he wasn't rich. He gave of his time. He did a lot for this community, helped others in this community. I think we should, like, if you want to do something for Mr. Mundy, rename the Kennedale Community Center or put a statue in one of the parks honoring him. I think the roundabout should be for really the long life town members who really dedicated themselves to this town. My family has been here since the early 40s and contributed a lot with helping, being good neighbors and doing a lot. My dad served on the city council. So I think with Mr. Mundy, with the contributions he's made, maybe a statue of some sort or renaming of the library would be better fitting. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Other speakers?
Ms. Tamiko Sargent.
Good evening, everybody on the council. Well, my thing on the roundabout situation, first of all, my name is Tamiko Sargent, and I want to discuss the roundabout situation. I did have a speech that I would like to say, but I don't have that much time. And I'm going to read a little bit of it. I'm saying I'm here to speak about something that is dear to myself. I understand that the mayor would like to name the roundabout after an ex-mayor. I'm not sure who he is. But I came into a meeting and I looked on the wall and I saw all these individuals that was Caucasian. I come to the council, I see the same thing. I said, so for myself, I said that why don't we just take a moment, revamp, think about it. If you're gonna do it for anybody, do it for MLK. Do it for Ms. Knotts, do it for her. Dick Price, I did my research last night and realized same thing. So, you know, in order for you guys to get some things done around here, I looked at Arlington. Arlington has a building named after Mr. Odom. I looked here where Pastor Evan has made a lot of changes. He's building a studio. He has HEB. I look over here in Fort Worth, Opal Lee. She's opened up a museum. You guys here are just staying in the same place, not moving forward. There's a lot of controversy with you guys on different issues about funding. So if you guys are going to do anything, and if you want to do anything, you got to make a change. And where that change starts is letting us know as minorities that you care. And again, I looked over to the library as well. I said, oh, okay, there goes another one. So at this point, I'm not understanding why we can't make a difference in helping the minorities. I don't know if there's any Hispanics here who may need the roundabout in their name or what they have contributed in this community. But again, Kennedale has nothing, as I said before in my early times with the city, I have no way of being able to identify myself here in this community. You guys wasn't aware of Black History, you wasn't aware of Juneteenth. It's a lot of things you guys are not aware, and I think I'm being polite on trying to introduce those things to you guys. So at this point, you guys may need to reconsider, because even with that, Mayor, you know Mrs. Knox's family, what they have done. MLK, you all should know about who he was and what he has contributed. We can do Oprah. It's a lot of African-American people that you can select and choose, other than naming it after another mayor, another person whom I do not know. And at this point, y'all can hold your heads down, shake your heads, jot things down, but at this point, let's be realistic about the whole situation, and don't make any decisions right at this point, because again, MLK would be a great name. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Neil Foreman?
Right, go. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Neil Foreman. I live on Eden Road South in unincorporated Tarrant County. Some of you may already know me. I'm the guy that started the church on Eden Road opposite the fireworks stand. First and foremost, I'd like to thank all of those involved in removing the homeless camp on Eden Road. It's made the area much safer. Thank you, Nate. And I know it's a lot of work, and I can't thank you guys enough. So that's awesome. But that brings me to my next concern, is the rampant, unregulated industrialization of my street. I understand the importance of new business in the area, but it appears that a few greedy businessmen are taking advantage of the lack of regulation in Tarrant County and making residents' lives miserable. I've had construction going on opposite my house for 2 years. I have high-intensity lights shining in my kids' bedrooms, and I've been told by these so-called businessmen that if I don't like it, I should move, and it's only going to get worse. Nobody seems to care about this until it happens to you. I urge the city to put in place some basic laws to protect its residents and the residents in surrounding areas. May I suggest that businesses shroud their lights, limit their construction work, and put up appropriate fencing in keeping with the neighborhood. I know these businessmen have lots of money. I hope this would not alter your decision to do what's right in protecting honest, hardworking folks. Kennedale has a wonderful opportunity in the coming years to be a prosperous and great city and an awesome place to live. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir.
I don't have any others, Mayor.
All right. So at this time, I'm going to ask if we could get a motion to go into executive session pursuant to section 551.0171 to consult with the city attorney.
I will make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? And for the record, all opposed with a like sign. Madam Secretary, the motion carries unanimously, and it is 5:44 p.m., and we are going to break into executive session. Thank you. 19, and we're going to go ahead and reconvene back into regular session. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the settlement as discussed in and approved in executive session.
I make a motion to approve the settlement as discussed in executive session.
Do we have a second?
A second.
All in favor? And for the record, all opposed with the like sign. Madam Secretary, the motion passes unanimously. At this time, we are going to move into regular session, and we're going to start with our reports and announcements. I believe I started with Councilman Glover last time, so Councilman Navarez, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just got back from San Antonio for the ethics and law training. I had a good time. The hotel room next to me may or may not have been haunted. I don't know. It's the Manger Hotel, but a loud TV from 2 to 4 in the morning, I don't think that's a person. But I didn't ask. But I had a good time, learned a lot. I did the chamber luncheon last week. We also did the Region 8 meeting as well. And then the Rotary Club has their annual chili cook-off coming up on February 22nd. Tickets are $5. It's our annual event where we fundraise to do scholarships for seniors in Kennedale. Last year, we gave 6 $1,000 scholarships, so we have a lot of cool auction items this year. Ms. Stephanie Yori has been working really hard and getting really neat items, so if you're interested, reach out to Rotary for tickets. Thank you.
Councilman Gary?
I don't have much this month, just that, went to the chamber luncheon, listened, that was pretty informative there. And the chili cook-off next month, be prepared for that, but thank you.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Well, I did attend the Kennedale Chamber luncheon. Norm Boulage was the guest speaker. That same night, I attended the TML Regional 8 meeting in White Settlement, which we voted on our officers for our Region 8. On the 16th, I had the privilege of attending the Law Enforcement Appreciation Breakfast at Emerald Hills. I was kind of the greeter, but the other people in the Chamber of Commerce were the servers. And then that night, I had the pleasure of joining the Historical Society, and we took a field trip to UTA with the Special Collection Library. And I came across some old city documents that kind of just drawed my interest that was 20 years old. And it's amazing that what they were going through 20 years ago is still some of the stuff that we're going through today. And they also had I think there's 11 copies of the Texas Independence Declaration, and they have one, and I got to look at that. And then there's just various maps. So basically, the guy that it was a after-hours tour, basically just set up everything about Kennedale. So it was like maps and everything. So I looked at a map from 1959, and you can just sit there and compare to 1978 how much Kennedale has grown and stuff like that. So it was very interesting. So if you ever get a chance to go to UTA Arlington and look at the special collection, I'd highly recommend y'all do that. And that's it.
Councilmember Kobeck?
In the interest of time, I don't have anything to report, but I do want to give a shout out to the Kennedale Police, because I had to contact them for an incident of suspected illegal dumping. And just want to say thank you so much for the speedy and professional response.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Glover?
I don't really have too many updates this session, but I am looking forward to the chili cook-off. Last year was a great turnout, so please come back this year. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Councilman Michaels, I trust you'll throw some Copenhagen in your chili this year, right? All right, there we go.
I think this year it's going to be more bean soup instead of chili, because chili doesn't have beans.
All right.
That's my opinion.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, looking forward to that. So not a lot either. This past month, toured a couple businesses and Thrive Coffee and then Palateria, the ice cream place. If you guys have not had a chance to try them both, they're both fantastic. And I do want to send a shout out to our police department, fire department, City Manager Hall and your staff with the cold spells that we've had recently. I think you guys have done a phenomenal job being prepared for any issues. And, that's a credit to the professionalism that you guys are doing. So our community is very grateful for all that. And, I've heard just, continue to hear great things. And, so thank you guys for being prepared for the cold weather and handling it very professionally. Additionally, I did want to say that I got word that Colonel Robert Grunhagen passed away several days ago. Ties to the community, obviously, served his country, and I just want to say that our prayers and condolences are with his family at this time, and just really sad to hear that. A very nice guy. Got a chance to meet him a time or two, and just a wonderful person. So really sad to hear that. And with that, I will pass it to our city manager.
I'm going to give another infrastructure update. Our Safe Route to School grant application is complete. I say complete that we're at 99.9%. There are some things that they're still working on, but for the most part, everything is open. The Colette-Silbert Road improvement, again, 99.9%. The road is open for traffic and looks great. If you have not been able to go down the new road, do the speed limit, but it is very nice. Everett Road, Valley Lane Bridge improvements, they're both completed fully. The Valley Lane Stream Bank Stabilization is still under FEMA review. We did have a meeting with them 2 weeks ago, and that is looking very promising for that grant, the grant for $1.6 million. So it's working very well for us. The SCADA upgrade for our water with Arlington, it's ongoing. We're coming to completion on that as well. We will most likely bring some more updates to you next month to possibly upgrade that system already. The main reason is to have ground protection. That's one thing that was not involved in it when we got the report from Arlington. So now they're requesting that we put some ground protection. And I believe at this point, we're looking at roughly around 40,000. So I will be bringing that back to you. The CDBG water improvement on North Road still in the engineering stage, so we haven't seen a whole lot of movement on that. The ground storage tank, it's in operation. We're looking probably mid-summer, or maybe late summer, and we should have our new water tank up and going. The Little School Road extension still under design. We're still hitting probably the 30% mark. There's still a lot of communications that we're having with Tarrant County Transportation. Everything is going very smooth on that concept of it. Same thing for Kennedale-Sublett Road realignment. It's the same thing as a Tarrant County initiative for design. Same thing, it's just started, so it's still in the engineering. The update on our streets, internal streets on New Hope, Swinney High, and Eden Road. We are budgeted to move forward and have those streets completed this budget. With that, we were also in contact with Tarrant County Precinct 2. We were scheduled on some of these streets for December 2025. They have now moved us up to June for possible rehab of our streets. If that's the date that they're going to be able to come in and complete our streets, we believe we can get an interlocal agreement with them and have them complete our streets. For some reason, we're not able to get an interlocal agreement. Our plan is to move forward with a company to come in and get our streets done this year. But that's an upgrade of our infrastructure.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Next, we'll move to financial reports for the city and the EDC. Mr. Horton.
Good evening. So I have 3 items to discuss. I'll start off with the monthly financials. Just touching on the general fund, our property tax revenues, they're 61% of the budget, and you can see at the same time last year, we were at just around 55%. Now, if you remember a couple months back when we were talking about our reserve, I mentioned that was probably the lowest point for the year, just based on timing of when we would get our property tax deposits. So if you go to the final page of the report, you'll see that our reserve percent is at 47%. For the next 2 months, we will be receiving significantly more cash coming in than we are spending, so that reserve number will probably tick up more once we close out January, and then you'll see that number start decreasing once our spending is beyond what our monthly revenues are. With our sales tax, we're at 8.6%. That's a little bit ahead of last year. Water sewer fund. What we noticed, and I just want to point this out with the water sewer and stormwater fund revenues, if you remember a few months back when our rate increase went up, our residents had a 6-week period on their bill. The billing cycle changed. Along with that billing cycle change is the timing that we get information from Arlington regarding our revenues. So going forward, I'll have to report these a month behind because we won't have the information in time for me to prepare a packet for the council. Just want to give you a heads up. That's been the case the last couple months, and I put it as a footnote. I'll just remove that footnote going forward since that'll be our standard practice. As far as the EDC fund goes, it's similar in sales tax as far as being a little bit ahead of last year with 25% of the year complete. We're on or beating our pace on all of our spending. Is there any questions? Or are there any questions? I apologize. Okay, I'll move on to the investment report. Really just going to the last page, our strategy with Frost, we have 4 different tranches with Frost, about $4.3 million in each, and every 90 days there's an expiration date. So what I'm referring to, the last page on our upcoming action, with Daryl mentioned, or sorry, City Manager Hull mentioned some of our timing with our infrastructure. We also have our public safety remodel coming up. So I'm expecting the next couple tranches of opportunity in Frost for us to withdraw those funds and end up using those on capital projects rather than depleting what we have right now in Tex Pool, keep that money for operations. And ultimately, all of the funds that's invested right now is bond money. So as those bond expenditures comes up, it makes sense to withdraw the money from investment funds and spend from there. Are there any questions on that report? Okay, the final thing this evening is our bond rating, and this is something we can all be really proud of. When Andrew Friedman from Samco came, last time we had improved, or our rating, our outlook was AA- positive. The S&P, you'll see they had a methodology for rating U.S. governments that was published in September of 2024. So that was right around the time we issued those bonds. So the criteria changed and we were up for reevaluation. As part of that reevaluation, our rating actually went up from AA- to AA. So Andrew expected us to take 3 years to get there. It took us a couple of months. The comment from S&P, the upgrade reflects our view of the city's ongoing tax base and economic growth and positive operating performance that has improved available reserves based on our methodology for rating U.S. governments criteria published September 9th, 2024. So for me, that's responsible spending from the city. It's building our reserve, and it's having that stability and that consistency that our bond participants can count on. Any other questions or any questions at all about any 3 of those?
Let me just say congratulations to all you guys, City Manager Hull, everybody, job well done. I mean, that's really quite an achievement, especially in the time that it took. So we're all very proud of you guys, and thank you all for your service.
Thank you.
All right, so now we are going to move to our public hearings, and we're going to conduct a public hearing on Ordinance 779, an ordinance of the City of Kennedale, Texas, amending the City of Kennedale's fee schedule. And the time is 6:34 p.m., and I'm going to go ahead and open up for comments.
I don't have anyone that's signed in for comments.
It does not look like anybody is going to comment, so I guess if nobody wants to comment, then we will go ahead and close the public hearing. It is 6:34 PM. All right. Next, that brings us to our consent agenda. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to pull? All right, then I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second.
All in favor? And for the record, all opposed with a like sign. Madam Secretary, the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to items for individual consideration, discussion, and/or action. Up first, we have to discuss and take action to award a contract for solid waste disposal services. And Mr. City Manager, do we have? So let me flip to it in my schedule.
I did not have the fee schedule separated out, or I think it's in your packet that way. Each council member was provided a packet from each company that presented a proposal for your review, and you should have already received all that, but the pricing, I believe, is in the packet itself. We did not. With your review, we asked that we were able to move forward with an individual consideration for Frontier Waste to move contracts for them.
And I think everybody's had a chance to meet with the city manager on this, and so I'll open the floor for discussion. Is there any discussion?
Just one concern I had with the differences between the two is there doesn't appear to be the option for residents to go do their own bulk drop-off with this contract. There was an option for them to come to you, but it was for a not insignificant amount of money to do that. Is that, am I reading it correctly?
No, that's correct. Sure. Or is that okay?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Sean Harris, Vice President, also a partner with Frontier Waste Solutions. I wanted to address the drop-off that you currently have with the incumbent hauler, which is at their landfill up on Dick Price Road. One of the pieces that we proposed was to have a drop-off at our location here in Kennedale on East Kennedale Parkway, which is the old Apache Foreign Auto location that we converted to our hauling facility back in the summer of 2023. And we would treat it almost like an annual cleanup, to where we would have a couple roll-off boxes available for residents to come and drop off their own bulky items. And we would just ask that would be on a specific schedule, so we didn't have just sporadic activity in the hauling location, just to keep it safe and contained, but have something available where that was a resource to the residents.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Glover?
Thank you for that. And just for confirmation, was that in this proposal or would be an addendum to it?
I believe I tucked it in the proposal that is an option. I don't know what page it's on, but it was definitely in there.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so that would be at the current stated price of
Correct.
$12 per unit per month? if we
Correct.
go with- Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion, questions?
Just a quick follow-up, Mr. Mayor, excuse me. So you're saying, what, once a year somebody come by the Apache lot and drop off? Is that what you're saying?
We didn't really present a frequency for each resident. I'm not sure what you're currently getting provided once a year.
Once a year.
So we would just have to track that. So we would mirror what the incumbent hauler is doing currently, so that service doesn't go away. And we just have to come up with a mechanism to track the drop-off. ensure that everybody that shows up has their water bill and license, and that way we're not getting all the folks from the ETJ showing up and helping us fill up dumpsters, because that does happen.
And then just one more for the city manager, Mr. Mayor. Does this contract restrict citizens from privatizing the drop-off for pickup trash? Or do we have to go through Frontier, like Arlington requires that they go through them?
No, it's not in there.
Okay, all right, great, thank you.
Other questions, other discussion items?
Sorry, one more for me then. Right now, we do an annual kind of hazardous waste collection. In this proposal, it looks like that's $17,000 without electronics, and then an additional $5,000 with electronics. Am I reading that right?
That's if you folks utilize our subcontractor, because we subcontract that out because we allow the professionals to handle that type of waste. And your current service, I believe, is through, is it the city of Fort Worth?
Yes, it currently is. There was an option that included in it. It's not a service that we have to use. Currently, we use Fort Worth. We have an annual day for that, and that's it.
So we would just keep that?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
correct.
okay, we'll keep the incumbent.
Yeah.
So- Okay, thank you. I read this as we would replace that with this. So just-
We ended up just offering the service as a monthly curbside collection on schedule or an annual event, just to throw that in there, because.
Yeah, it was the annual event that kind of caught my eye. The curbside's a nice feature for sure. The curbside cost just jumped out at me, but if we're keeping the existing one, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you. No further questions.
Other questions, discussion items?
I'll tag team with Mr. Glover right now. So what does it look like? This is the one where they provide a trash can, correct?
No, it's the current service level that we currently.
Okay, thank you. It's been a couple of weeks. Thank you.
You will receive a new recycling card.
Anything else? In that case, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we award the contract for solid waste disposal to Frontier Solutions.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? And all in favor? And for the record, all opposed with a like sign. Madam Secretary, the motion passes unanimously.
Do we still want to start in 2 weeks? Okay. We're up for a challenge. We're getting bored. All right. Appreciate it.
Tomorrow at 8 a.m.
Appreciate the opportunity, and we look forward to being a partner with the city of Kennedale. Thanks.
I'll be in touch.
All right, so the next item is discuss and take action to name a roundabout located in located at the intersection of Mansfield Cardinal Road and Little School Road in honor of Mr. Robert Mundy. And before I open it up for discussion, I think everybody's had this added to the record from the Kennedale Historical Society. Has everybody seen that letter? All right.
I think she did want to address you guys. Did you want to address the council?
Okay. Would you like me to read? Yeah. Okay. So I'll go ahead and read this for the record, Madam Secretary. And dated January 21st, Mayor Horton, City Manager Hull, and council members, the Kennedale Historical Society would like to make the recommendation to name the roundabout on Little School Road and Mansfield Cardinal Road after Mr. Mundy. We feel this is an appropriate way to honor Mr. Mundy for all the years, many years of community service he has done for our city. Following service as a U.S. Air Force captain, Robert Mundy moved to Kennedale over 30 years ago. Robert Mundy has served many years since then in leadership positions in Kennedale, including mayor, city council member, president of the Economic Development Corporation Board, chairman for the Board of Adjustment, chairman for the Town Center Development District Board, board member and treasurer of the Friends of Library Kennedale, and served on his homeowners association. When naming our roundabouts and new streets in honor of people who have served Kennedale, this will promote the knowledge of that person's history with our city. This will teach residents about our past in a very visual way, and we hope you'll approve this recommendation. That I will open the floor for discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to bring up some comments from last time when we discussed this, which was the possibility of naming the library, or even we have a new room coming up, just naming that room the Mundy Room or something like that. One of the biggest reasons why, or two biggest reasons why, is one, his closeness with the library, but two, I would love to see this on a plaque. It's kind of hard to see in a roundabout. If we want to inform the public about the history of our citizen that put so much time into our community, it'd be nice to read it. And it's just, unless you're putting a sign in the roundabout like me, it's just nothing that people would read. That's just what I would consider. I'm not against it. I'm all for it either way. I just wanted to open discussion of even just the new room. We call it the Mundy Room as well, that we're expanding over into the community room.
To address your point well taken on the plaque. I know the city manager's reached out and gotten some various bids or whatever that are cost effective and would also be befitting of such a memorial. I think there was an issue with renaming the library based on the naming rights, and I don't know if that would cover new rooms as well. That might be a
Question I really don't have an answer for right now.
yeah.
If you look in the foyer of the library, Mayor Bill Abbott, the whole building's dedicated after him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see the library discussion. I don't think the room applies. Again, it's just my two thoughts on it. I can go, I'm for it. I know Mr. Mayor, I know Mayor Mundy very well. He's a good man, he deserves it. I'm just throwing some other options out there. He does have an epitaph that's pretty long, I see Miss Sargent's point as well. We could simply just name a roundabout MLK and people would understand and know what that means. We don't need a plaque on that, maybe a statue. But for something like this where we want to inform the public, it's just easier.
Sure.
If it's not in the middle of the roadway.
Sure. Other discussion items?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. One of the things I'm looking at is those roundabouts are designed to be temporary. At any time when the population comes up and we need to widen those roads, the roundabouts come out. We got enough right-of-way to where that is allowed to do that. My suggestion was we have the town center over here, that we can start naming the streets, the one that comes in off the parkway, name that, do it as a private drive. The one that goes in front of the Antique Mall, the one that goes in front of the Chicken Express. It gives us more options to name these private drives than instead of just naming a roundabout. So, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 names that we can put up white signs and have something in the town center, because right now everything's addressed off the parkway. So that would kind of help people in a business saying, hey, if you come in off Kennedale Parkway and you'll see Robert Mundy Drive, make a left there and our business is right there. But that would be my suggestion. But
Other comments, discussion items, questions?
So taking into effect what Councilman Michael said, let's say that the Little Road project happens in the next 2 to 4 years, and they come in and take away the roundabouts. If we name that after Mr. Mundy, or even if we go to the other ones and name it after, MLK or whoever else, Ms. Knox or whatever, what would we be able to do with it then? Would we move it to somewhere else or something toward that effect?
I would guess that if that happens, then that would be a discussion for a future council to decide. No, point well taken. Mr. City Manager, do you have any?
I have been able to get a quote yesterday. I didn't get in time to be able to get it in the packet. But we do have a design that we can come in and identify the traffic circle for whoever we want to identify for that. is very nice. It also identifies not only the person, but it also identifies Kennedale as a whole. So the design looks just like our town center clock. So it gives us a reference of Kennedale. And obviously, not only will we have the person's name or who we're representing for that traffic circle, but you'll also see the city of Kennedale. And it's going to be identified just as that. So anybody driving through, not only are they going to recognize the person we're proud of, but also you're recognizing you're in the city of Kennedale. So I think there's two forms that we're identifying in that sense. The price did come in pretty hefty. It was around the 8,000 mark, but it was very, very nice, very professional, and it looked very good. And it represented the city in a very good, unique way. It was lighted, so it was a form of a roof, just like our town center, and identified the person that we're wanting. But it was also lit. So at night, you're going to be able to see that same sculpture or building, whatever it appears to be. But that's the price that we have for it. It is a little bit higher than I expected, but also the prestige of it, I think it'll fit our city very well.
And, you know, and just for the count, I think we might have discussed this when we had it on a discussion on them. I think the roundabouts came about as kind of something that was more cost effective than like a monument or something along those lines. I think like a statue or monument's like 20,000 or something like that. And also looking at a way to, you know, do something nice yet cost effective. So, but other questions?
I just have one other maybe comment. So we're, previously last year, we discussed changes to the Town Center Park, particularly around the Veterans Memorial. But is there an opportunity in partnering with the Historical Society to kind of carve out a piece of the wall to kind of say, here's the history of Kennedale? So not how we have it in the office there with the photos over here, but just kind of tell the story of the town and incorporate these individuals into that story as that becomes appropriate.
That's correct. And actually, Ms. Sanders has been working on that for months now. We should shortly have a plaque, not a plaque, a display that we'll be able to put in the foyer for exactly that reason. Not only for tangible things that you can see, but things that you can also read about the city as a whole. That is in progress of doing that as well.
That would be indoors, or that would be in the park?
It'll be indoors, it'll be inside.
Well, given that we were talking about doing a monument or a naming with a story, putting that outside might also work and still be cost effective and also pay honor to the individuals. So it sounds like we have 3 options, maybe 4. We got the roundabout, possibly at the library, but we're unsure on that. Or the room, yeah, not the library, but the room at the library.
I think,
Or the streets, like Mr. Michaels is
Private drives in the town.
suggesting, or even to take that one further, each building, you know, we could go there. But again, that's next on the agenda, the list of historical figures.
we still have a lot of options. For me, I truly need some direction of which way we want to go. You know, what that is. Obviously, the Historical Society is going to help out tremendously. I just want to make sure what we're looking at. We have so many people that we do need to recognize that's played a role in the city for many years. So the opportunity is here. Once again, I've looked at the roundabouts of being several different value out of that. One is identifying the city. And 2, it gives us a location that if someone's calling for help, they have a focal point they can see and identify where they're at. Right now, they just say, well, we're at a circle or we're at a roundabout. You know, for Little Road and Sublet, there's 2 locations. It's just one of ideas. I did not expect the price to be around the 8,000 mark. But what he did submit was very nice. I think it was complimentary of the city as a whole, and I think it'll be a good focal point inside the city to identify where you're at. And ultimately, that's the city of Kennedale, and I think it looked very nice to do so.
I do like the fact that it's a piece of art. That's something that I was thinking about last weekend when I was in San Antonio, walking around San Antonio, was all the art, even as modern as it was, and I'm not a big fan of modern, but just to walk around and see art. I think that's something that we've always lacked here. It's something that I think we, been trying to do in the Parks Board over the years, so I do like that idea.
Manager Hall, I've got a couple of questions about the information you found about the thing for the roundabout. So it would be a structure similar to the clock tower.
Correct.
How tall?
15 feet.
Okay, and it's lit at night.
Correct.
Are there any concerns about, I mean, it would not be lighting that was so bright that someone approaching the roundabout would be,
No.
so there would be no safety issues?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I think it'll actually be a great safety for motorists as a whole. One, identifying there's a traffic circle there. We have several that's went over the traffic circle. So I think being lit could be a traffic safety for us.
I figured it would either be a good thing or it would be a concern. And I figured you had already kind of checked that out, but just wanted to get that on the record.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Well, the concept of it is going to be similar to the clock tower, but it's going to have raised letters on it, and the lighting's going to be behind the letters, and it's going to be LED lighting with the solar cell on top of the roof.
Will there be some sort of protection from somebody running over it, like our front entrance sign we got 10 years ago?
Well, there is roughly an 8-inch, anywhere from 8 to 12-inch concrete circle going around it. Obviously, it's not going to stop everything, but it is there for the protection. But we've had some.
I'll give it 2 months this time, not 30 days.
So they'll definitely know it if they find it the hard way.
Yes, yes. They won't know they hit it.
Other discussion items, questions? No? Do we have a motion?
I also like to add as well, particularly for funding, we do have the opportunity to use our EDC budget for this. One, it is and can be a economic growth for the city as a whole. So it is something that we can utilize the ED funds for if you choose to go that direction.
But to confirm, we still don't have a cost of what we would be approving here. Is that accurate?
For the current plan, I believe it's $8,600. With that $8,600, I will need to get 2 other bids.
And the 8,600 is for the plaque?
No, that will be for the design, and I can send the email with the design of it to you guys. I just don't have it currently. And before we even move forward in that concept of it, I will have a bid process that I'll bring back. But the current price is $8,600 for that concept.
Do we want to table until we see the design, or do we need to move on this?
It's up to you guys.
I was wondering if we table it and kick it down to EDC. If you're talking about EDC money, let them come back up to us.
Well,
Unless you need the approval for them to evaluate it.
well, for the cost of it, obviously I need to take it to EDC. It's not necessarily a budgeted item. They can make that decision to move forward with it, and I don't have to bring it back to council. But the concept of what we're wanting to name and move forward with, I do need approval from you for that. The funding is, I don't want to indicate it's secondary, but to this point, we do have funding in the EDC fund to be able to move forward with that concept.
So there's enough funding in the EDC to fund all 3 of them, or just one?
If that's the direction we want to go, yes, there's enough funding for that. And it is identified for monuments for entries of the city.
But this particular action item is to name the intersection of Mansfield Cardinal and Little Road in honor of Mr. Mundy, not private drives, not library rooms. If the traffic circles are just, could be temporary, to the Mayor Pro Tem's point, I would hate to spend the money and then rip it out in 2 years because here comes progress and Little Road gets widened. That'd be my concern. I'd rather have it.
You can make it a bigger roundabout, like I've always wanted.
Sure.
Just for your information, it's not going to be 2 years.
Yeah.
I wish that was the case, but we're probably looking more of a 5-year plus. I don't know if 3 years makes a difference, but it's not going to be in 2 years. Engineering's going to take that long. Design will take that long.
I think the original idea too is to label that circle so we can identify it better. Like everybody knows Wildcat Way roundabout, but what's the one near my house? What's the one south of it? What's the one north of it? I think that's what made it simple. So even if we or future council wipes it off the face of the planet, it's going to serve its purpose until then. We can move it. We'll make sure the Historical Society make sure they move it later on.
I definitely believe it's something for us to be proud of. It does look good.
Mr. Mayor, if there's nothing else, I'll make a motion to approve renaming the traffic circle at Mansfield Cardinal Road and Little School Road in honor of Robert Mundy.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? And all opposed? Oh. All opposed with the like sign. All right, Madam Secretary, the motion passes unanimously. The third item for individual consideration is to discuss and take action requesting that the Kennedale Historical Society select nominations for naming roundabouts located in the city of Kennedale. Mr. City Manager, do you want me to turn it over to you, or do you want me to open the floor for discussion? All right, I'm going to open the floor for discussion.
I think that we should really consider doing this. I mean, if there is any entity that is uniquely placed to be able to gather the information and make those recommendations to assist council and city staff with this kind of work, it would be the Kennedale Historical Society.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, getting more people involved in the process, I mean, certainly I think just a, great thing, but other discussion?
I agree with Ms. Kobeck, like, this is their wheelhouse, let them do it, and I would like to see a list that we can pick at in the future, but even future council can pick at as well. That way we don't lose some translation of history as we age as a city as well. I just want to make sure we stamp it somewhere.
Absolutely.
I would also, if we are going to task the Kennedale Historical Society with this, that maybe we could request that when they give us those names and the information that they'll provide about those people, that they also perhaps be able to provide us with some suggestions of what would be an appropriate way to honor that individual, where we at least have something to start with.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's a great point, to task the Historical Society to get creative. Because, I know we've talked about, wanting to do stuff and, then it comes back, well, that's not a good idea to do this or that. So maybe, they can, we could task them with that as well. And, I mean, it doesn't just have to be a roundabout or street name or, I mean, whatever.
Firehouse?
There we have it. So, please.
Yes.
Okay,
with that being said, we have done several things around town that y'all may not be aware of. As for naming streets, there's 2 streets in Magnolia Hills that the Historical Society named, McClellan and Samuels, because those families lived on that land. There is a sign down in Sonora Park that named the island Flanagan's Island for the Flanagan family that lived down there when Thelma and I were in high school. And they had a lot of input in getting every kid in town, not me, I want to say, but my sister did, of skipping school and going skinny dipping in the ponds. It was a lot of fond memories, but I wasn't in on that group. But, so their family was instrumental in using that land for public recreation long before it was a park. So we came up with that idea. We approached the Parks Board. We got it done. The Historical Society paid for the sign. We also paid for the Ralph Mooney sign and had the history of Ralph Mooney put on that sign that's here in Town Center Park. We've also done one for the Boy Scouts, which their charter is over 100 years old. We have the timeline and history of the whole Scouts, the whole 100 years on that sign, which is going to be placed when they get through remodeling the Scout Hut. They want everything to look nice, and we're going to have a ceremony there. So, and we've done historical markers. So there's a lot of things that we are reaching out in the community to do and to preserve our history and make it known to the public. And we, believe you me, we have got a long list with a little paragraph about each person that we are suggesting for the names and what they've done in the community, the years that they were here, just a lot of history that most people probably would never even know. But because we have such a nice little array of people on our Historical Society for many different decades, we all have different people that we know contributed to Kennedale. So it's not just a glorified name up in shining lights to look at that person's name, but it's a way to say thank you to that family, to that person, for their contribution to Kennedale all through these years. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Lori, I got a couple of questions for you. Yes. So how do you become a member of the Historical Society?
You just show up, and then you're looped in for life.
Okay.
We meet every Thursday at the library. Not every Thursday, wait a minute, every 3rd Thursday. And when we're having our lecture series, which is, we don't have it in November and December, but when we're having our lecture series, that's every 3rd Thursday. We have a meeting before the lecture, and then we do the lecture. So it's just a little short meeting, business meeting, and then we do our lecture series, and then, that's how we do.
The Historical Society, that is not a part of the city of Kennedale.
No, we're our own little thing.
Okay. Do y'all have a Facebook or any other?
Well,
way of
yes,
following
we do. You haven't seen it before?
Well, that's the reason why I'm asking.
Okay, yes, it's Kennedale Historical Society on Facebook. We have a web page. We have a YouTube channel. And we also are in the process of getting a grant to digitize all the Kennedale news and all the Kennedale news pictures, which are so many you wouldn't believe. We've got 6 big binders full of pictures of Kennedale news. We're digitizing all the yearbooks for the school. We've got that finished. It's online now. It's on the Texas Portal to History, and it's also on our Historical Society page. So we're really active, just no one knows about us.
So if we have anyone that's wanting to help with this project, so we can recommend them to contact you to get the information?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm assuming, Ms. Mayor, as a matter of procedure, or do we just can we just simply ask them? Like, do we have to vote on it? I guess is the question.
I think we can just,
We can make a law, I guess, and mandate them to do it, I'm fine with that as well.
I think we can take recommendations from the Historical Society. Obviously, the decision comes from the council. But,
Yeah.
I think recommendations are very well noted.
Okay. So does that answer your question?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would just recommend that you recommend to the Historical Society, bring us a list for future.
Okay, well, I would recommend to the Historical Society, I'm going to pass the buck to you guys, that you guys will bring a list to the council for future naming, ways to honor great citizens of the past, and I know you guys will do a fantastic job. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, can I make one more recommendation?
One more, and we're going to have to, I'm just kidding.
With all your social platforms that you have, can I recommend that you make an announcement what you're doing? And that way we can have the opportunity for the community to voice their opinion if they prefer to do so. At least they have the opportunity to do that. If you need the city to help with that social media platform, we can do that as well.
Other questions, discussion items? Then I will entertain a motion. But do we need a motion? We don't need a motion. All right, I think we have spoken loud and clear. Does everybody agree in the council that the Historical Society has been given a directive here and we're good? All right, very good. That brings us to item number 4, receive an update and discuss direction to city staff regarding the Youth Advisory Council. Just as a discussion item, and, you know, before we do that, I know we've talked about it, you know, a couple months back, had some discussions, and I know that the city, I think, had something on the books, and I think Councilman Griffith had talked about it, but I also did, you know, I did speak to the Mayor Pro Tem about it back in December and kind of asked if he would kind of help, if he had the capacity to kind of help kind of spearhead the charge if we have the capacity to take that on right now. So I'll turn it over to you, sir, if you want.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, once we started looking into the youth advisory and looking at the bylaws, there's a lot of things that have changed since its last activity. That was also with your packet for you to review and look over. We definitely need some direction on how you want to move forward with the youth advisory. And on the bylaws, there's some things that we need to change, particularly it indicates it's 25 voting members. There's some shall in there. I think if we change some of the language in it, it will definitely help us be able to manage that youth better. I don't know if you've had a chance to really go in detail of itemizing the bylaws. I know Mayor Pro Tem has looked in it quite a bit. I think he has some recommendations as well. I would like for us to go in and be able to change the bylaws that will fit today's standards of what we're looking for and what we're wanting to accomplish. If you can give us a little bit of feedback for that. If you looked into it and know something that really stood out that you want us to really address, I would appreciate that opportunity.
You know, I think the intent is just to get young people involved and engaged in learning about government and, you know, hopefully just let them see the importance of being involved in government. And, you know, I mean, voting in national elections, voting in state elections is obviously very important, but, you know, I think your life is impacted more by what happens locally with your school boards and your city council than anything that happens in Washington and Austin. So I think that's the intent, is to just kind of get young people involved and teach them about the process. And, you know, we may have a future president or something involved. You never know. So, for the floor. Do you guys have any recommendations? Do you, that?
I'm going to ask our city secretary.
I would like
And on
to
this one.
add stuff. Number one, I mean, this is something that's very important because You never know. This could be the next council member. It could be the next senator. It could be the next somebody in House that just gets involved with local government and says, hey, I want to make a living of this. Some of the deals that I looked at is, it's been amended on the ordinance to go from 15 to 25. I don't think we can get 25 members, and they're voting members. So that's something that probably needs to be corrected. I mean, I don't want, or whoever's running it, if we bring it down to 15, we don't need 15 voting members. I mean, we could have 15 voting members, but every vote would have to be by roll call. So that way it can be documented on the record. That's something that I think we need to drop it. Another thing that I was looking at is this starts from June 1st to May 31st of every year. Obviously, we haven't had it in, 5 years, 4 or 5 years since the last one?
I think it went away with COVID, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I think you're correct. Would we take applications and just appoint everybody for a term till May 31st? Or should we wait and do it June 1st?
I would say we probably need to get, maybe reach out to the school district and, I'm guessing we probably don't want elementary age kids involved.
So I think that the
There's
age
an age
are
limit.
15 to 19.
Yeah, there's an age limit.
And
So
I know looking at the original one, there seems to have been an application.
Can I chime in for a minute? There's a couple things when looking at the ordinance. I think that when you're talking about the wording of the voting members, you can change the word shall to up to, and it kind of fixes your issue. As far as the composition of the board going into effect June the 1st, this is just a truly honest opinion. We have not budgeted for the YAC since COVID. There's no money in the budget right now. So unless we amend something to be put in the budget, you're looking at October 1st anyways. So that would give us time to put something together, maybe go to training. I myself have not attended any kind of YAC training before. I don't know that we have anybody on the staff that has. There's also a provision in the ordinance that talks about a staff liaison that is appointed by Daryl. That's just the go-between between the city council and them. But there is a facilitator that is kind of over the board and does what I do for you, for that board. And the specific language in the ordinance right now is that it is a Kennedale resident that works with youth. I don't live here, so unless that was changed, I wouldn't be able to fill that role. So there's several things in the ordinance that I think between Daryl and I that we could go through and look at other cities and other entities that we could bring back to you guys. Another option would be our YMCA. I think that they offer a program that's similar. So I think you have several options on the table that before we jump in and say this is what we want to do, we probably should look at.
Madam Secretary, so maybe what we need to do, since this is a discussion only, is think in terms of putting all the pieces together, and also here in the next few months when we start perhaps discussing the budget for the upcoming year, that is certainly an item that needs to be included.
And I would also add June. I mean, school's out for the summer, whatever. So I think probably pushing it back to October would probably be a better time to let the school year get started, let them get their feet under them and whatever. And then obviously, and is that something that, the city secretary has the capacity to take on? Is there somebody else? I don't think we want to overload anybody with something, but.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
To the city secretary's point too, though, some of these duties and responsibilities overlap with what the YMCA does. So we should probably compare this list with what they are planning to offer the town as they expand their scope. And not that we do away with the YIC, but simply flag which role is going to fall maybe on them, and the YMCA becomes more of a bridge between the YMCA and the city also.
You good? Do you need a homework assignment? Do you need a homework assignment?
Well, since we talked about it in December, I actually started kind of working on it, started trying to figure stuff out. I've been kind of bothering the city secretary about it. And every time that I find something, I come up and ask her a question, and then she's like, I'm really going to have to look into it. But at this time, she's doing multiple jobs, and she doesn't have time to really deal with me when I come in and ask a question. But I think the best thing to do is come in and just, either we can revise the first ordinance and try to get it down to 15 people. I don't understand why we pay YAC members $10 a meeting and we get $1. So, that's something that you look at, especially at the time when there's 25 members, or there could have been 25 members, and we're paying $10 a month for them to come to a meeting. Yeah, so it's kind of one of those deals that I think we need to clean this up, and then I agree with you, maybe move it from June and then take it to October. And then school starts in August, right? So that'll give us August to put out that we're taking applications. They can do their applications, gives them time to give them the references, and then we can appoint by October.
We need to also keep in mind, the school district might not be the only place from which we tap to get members. We have, there are some specific requirements for who can be on this, but we need to keep in mind that we have some other schools that we want to be sure we don't leave out, because we want a good, broad, representative sampling.
And as of this time right now, that is in the ordinance, where it's not even the school district, but it's even kids that are homeschooled can apply, so.
Homeschool and then the fellowship academies, yeah. All right. So do we feel like we have enough information to maybe keep the ball rolling here? I know the Mayor Pro Tem has done some research, and I guess as part of the budgeting process, we can weigh that as we start working through that as a council, and maybe reach out to the YMCA, and so we don't reinvent the wheel. All right. Do we feel good about where we are with this right now?
I think you'll have to keep it at $10 at a minimum, because trying to get a kid to do anything for $1 just doesn't work these days anymore.
We're doing it for $1.
I know we are. You try to get a 15-year-old to do something for $1, different story. So
I was
that's all I
thinking,
got to remember.
I was thinking more in mind of service hours instead of money, but
I think the service hours is the right way to go. Most of them want that. That's what they're looking for, is those volunteer hours to put on applications to universities. So I think it's very important for it.
and if we just happen to have maybe some students who were at-risk students and needed service hours for something other than college applications, though that might be a way to positively help them turn around. Just saying.
Sure, absolutely. Any further discussion points? All right. Do we feel like we're in a good place? We got some feedback here?
Yeah, I think so. Basically, what I'm taking out of it, we're going to get the bylaws where they need to be, and we'll start there and bring the bylaws back. Once they're approved, then we'll know which way to go.
All right.
Or the rules, or your ordinance.
The ordinance, yeah. Councilman Michaels, you look like you may have something you want to say. You've not quite decided yet.
Well, I think what we need to do is, you were talking about homework. I would suggest that everybody on council go through this ordinance and look at stuff that they either think it should be changed or they would like to change, and then submit it to the city manager or to city secretary. And then that way we can get this cleaned up, and that'd be one step that we can move forward with.
Very good.
I do make that recommendation to the city secretary.
What's another few emails? How many did you get today? 200? All right. All right, so if there's no other discussion points at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion that we do move into executive session pursuant to section 551.087 to consult with the city attorney.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to move to executive session.
I'll second that.
Do I need to change it? I'm sorry, do I need to change it? Excuse me, let me correct it, just pursuant to section 551.087. Just leave it at that. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I reaffirm my motion to move to executive session as stated.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it again.
All in favor? All right, not for the record, all opposed with a like sign. The motion passes unanimously. And it is 7:25. We are moving into executive session. It is 8:04 PM, and we are reconvening back into regular session. And with that, it is time for everybody's favorite motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All right, it is 8:04 PM, and the meeting is adjourned.